What happens when the richest man in modern history divorces? Well, what happens is the drama that has been unfolding since the beginning of this year, culminating in the recently finalized divorce between Jeff and MacKenzie Bezos. Kumbe hawa wazungu tu ni kama Afrika. Kweli mwanaume ni mwanaume. Mtu anapata pesa, alafu akishapata pesa, anataka kutafuta mwanamke mwingine. Translation: men are the same anywhere in the world. And this latest American case proves that they are no different from our hopeless African men, whom when they get money, they leave their wives, and go and look for another woman. Yes, that is how many people think about this. The woman that you've struggled with all your life when you had nothing, the woman who stood by you as you grew your empire, as you went through struggles, and now finally, when you're the richest man in the world, she's not good enough for you. Well, to be honest, that is not really the story of this case. The story here is a bit deeper. Yes, there are very many similarities, but there's more. And we'll dive into that immediately after the upcoming brief commercial break. You don't want to miss this one. Welcome back. Now, we are controlled by our environment. We are controlled by the society in which we live in. Some of us are controlled by our fear of Almighty God. But the truth is, since the beginning of time, rich, powerful men have never been monogamous. They have been polygamous. And therefore, a man will always be a man. It just depends on whether society and other factors will control him or not. And Jeff Bezos' principle of life is very interesting, and he has made no secret of it. His greatest fear, even in starting Amazon, his greatest fear is to be old and regret. Regret not having done something, regret not having started his company, regret not having been brave enough to do something, etc., etc. Bezos' principle of life is that if he lives long enough, he does not want to be an old man with many regrets, which is what many of us human beings end up being. And so, I guess this principle came into play when he saw something that he wanted, but he could not have. And therefore he decided, haidhuru, hata nini ifanyike, hii lazima nipate. Translation: 4-letter word, the consequences. This one I want, and this one I must have. Now, of course, it takes two to tango. And we all know that since the beginning of time, because all of you know that we stay very close to human nature on this channel, the biggest attraction for women, very hard for most women to resist, has always been power. Initially, muscular power in the Stone Age. And this is the basic instinct of a woman. She needs a protector, somebody strong enough to protect her. And if that person is the strongest savage in the caves, the better. And of course, in modern times, because we no longer live in caves, the power of a man is his financial muscle. And so, if the richest man in modern history is interested in you, and you're a woman, what do you do? And this is precisely how most people in the world have looked at this Jeff Bezos divorce. And it is the reason why it has fascinated so many right across the globe. This is one story that has broken through racial barriers, language barriers, every kind of barrier you can think of. And attracted the interest of every human being on the globe, or at least most. But there's a lot more to it. than meets the eye. And we're going to look into that. We're going to dive very deep into that in part 2 of this video, which will come to you immediately after the brief upcoming break. Get ready to hear things that will make your ears ring. No kidding. See you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, if you're the richest man in the world, it's very easy for you to do damage control. If a scandal breaks out in your life, if something happens in your life, it is very easy to do damage control. You hire the best public relations consultants on the globe. You can easily afford the best fixers money can buy. And so this saga is best understood by following the chain of events. The story of the steamy affair between Jeff Bezos and a lady called Lorraine Sanchez was first broken by a tabloid, a famous tabloid called the National Enquirer. And that happened early this year. After the affair was announced to a shocked world, it was followed by exposés of text messages between the two lovebirds, both of them married. And that is not all. We were told that the Enquirer had seen photographs sent between the two lovebirds that were inappropriate. Let me just put it like that. The tabloid even claimed to have photographs, selfies taken by Bwana Bezos of parts of his anatomy that are supposed to be very private. Now, young people do this all the time. Send each other naked pics. That's normal. But what has amazed me in this case is that it seems even older people do the same. I guess it's yet another basic instinct in a human that I'm yet to fully understand. Now, it later emerged that the person who had leaked this information to the National Enquirer was Lorraine Sanchez's brother. The brother to Jeff Bezos, mpango wa kando. And the National Enquirer pays for stories and doesn't make a secret of it. And it is reported that the brother of Lorraine Sanchez was paid, wait for this one, $200,000 for this story. That is 20 million Kenyan shillings. But fascinatingly, the motives may not have been totally financial. Why do I say this? In the contract signed with the National Enquirer, there was a very interesting clause. And that clause eliminated the possibility that the National Enquirer would have the story and since they have bought it, they would just sit on it, refuse to publish it. That clause meant that the National Enquirer would have to publish the story. And so the immediate question here is, why was somebody so determined to get this story out? Why? What was the real motive? Because if the motive was purely financial, you receive your money and you keep quiet. Yeah, they can do what they want with the story. You've been paid. And unfortunately, that is a mystery that may probably never be solved. Now, the divorce between Jeff and MacKenzie Bezos has been very amicable. Yeah, in fact, too amicable. Indeed, too good to be true. But that has not stopped the tongues wagging. Yeah, and you know how women think. One of the most painful things when you marry a woman is for your husband to leave you for a younger girl. However, in this case, Lawrence Sanchez and MacKenzie Bezos are exactly the same age. They're both 49. But there's no denying that Lauren is hot. Lawrence Sanchez is very hot. Yeah, not only is she a helicopter pilot and a former news anchor, but she has hot Latina blood running through her veins. I think men will understand exactly what I'm talking about. However, I was taught a long time ago that the inner beauty of a woman is much more important, much more critical than the outer beauty. And so far, there's solid evidence that MacKenzie Bezos could be the more beautiful woman inside. Because for starters, she has remained uncharacteristically cool for a woman in this situation. Hence the very amicable settlement, divorce settlement, between her and her husband. Now, the amount of that settlement has been converted into Kenyan shillings and comes to a whopping 3.5 trillion Kenya shillings. Now, this is super interesting because Kenya's entire budget for the 2018-2019 financial year was 3 trillion, slightly less than this settlement figure. Bottom line, there are so many fascinating things about this very unique divorce that will keep people talking about it for a long time to come. Until next time, this is Kshs. Kumekucha.